Hi, welcome back to the shed for episode 15 of the Jurgs cut build. In this episode we've got a little bit more work to do to get everything in place on the body, get it all positioned properly, get it screwed down temporarily so that we know that it all fits, and then we can start the really exciting bit. Let's start to get some finish onto it. Okay, so last time we got the neck carved and that's all kind of working very nicely. So the next big job is the finishing. However, there is still quite a lot of little bits and pieces jobs to be done on this before we can get to that, and there is also a fair amount of finish prep. And the first thing I want to do is just do a very quick full trial build of this, just to make sure that everything is where it needs to be and that everything can be fastened in the position that I want it to be fastened into. However, when I say full trial build, I don't actually mean a full trial build, because I'm not going to put the strings on it and I already know that the tuners fit perfectly well. So it is basically just a case of fitting all of the components that kind of go onto the body. So pick guard, tailpiece, bridge, which we kind of already know fits. And the one thing we didn't do when we made this pick guard was put its screw holes on. So I need to somehow kind of get that back onto the template, something like the right position, and just mark it out and drill for all the screws. But I think the first thing I'm going to do is just finish off fitting this tailpiece unit. I only held it on with 2 screws initially because I knew that we weren't going to be putting all of the strings on, and therefore we didn't need to put all of the screws in because there wouldn't be that much tension. However, having fitted 2 screws already, I know that I can get it back in at exactly the position that I need it in. So I'll just get the first 2 in and we can drill for the rest. And with that screwed in, we can finally test that properly, and there's more than enough travel on that bar, so that's all good. So with that sorted, we already know that the bridge fits fine in its little buckets, so that's good. Now the scratch plate only realistically fits in one place once the pickups are in position, which is there. So this element needs to be right up against it. And at the moment it's leaving a tiny little gap right in the corner of here. I'll do a close up so you can see that. And it's not much, it's only right in that very corner, but you can see through to the body and to the route underneath it, which just doesn't look very nice. So I'll whip the scratch plate out and I just need to take a little tiny bit off these parts here, and I'll just do that with a very fine file. And I think that's just about as close as we're going to get that to be. There is perhaps just the smallest hint of a gap there, but pretty happy with that if I'm honest. So next up I'll get the 3 screws into the control plate, and from there I'll have 2 points of reference for the pick guard, one against the control plate here and the other against the heel of the neck, which again I don't know if you can see, but that's a really nice tight fit as well. So I'll get that screwed in and then we can look at getting the pick guard properly fastened down. And next up, we just need to locate the template back onto this scratch plate so that we can get the holes drilled out on the perimeter for the screws to attach it. And I'm thinking this is going to be quite straightforward. I'm going to, first off, just put a couple of strips of masking tape underneath it. Like that. And because the route for these pickup covers is so tight, I think I can just slot that back over like that. And tape it in position. And from there, I can just work my way around with this little transfer punch. And mark for my drill holes. And I've got this special one with a bit of blue masking tape on because I know that that fits a 3.5mm drill bit perfectly, and I always use that on templates and stuff for marking out. Just saves me having to search through the whole pack of them to find the right one. So with that done, we'll get the template back off, get this to the drill press and get it drilled out. Okay, so that's the whole thing put together. I've put the strap buttons on and kind of buckled everything up, and everything seems to be fitting exactly as I want it to. So that is really, really good. So the next thing we need to do is get it all off again like this, because it's time to get some finish prep done on this body. And I'm going to go about this one slightly differently from normal for the very simple reason I have so little time on my hands to get this done that I'm going to have to take a different approach. It's currently Tuesday night, the 16th. The deadline is the 23rd. And for those of you who are good at maths, you'll understand that that is next Tuesday. So I've got a week to take it from this to finished and playing, because I really, really want to hit that deadline. Now, to do a normal nitrocellulose finish in that time would be next to impossible, because you need to leave it to cure before you can flat it off and polish it, etc. So here's my plan. This is going to be a sunburst finish. However, I'm going to go about it slightly differently than I've done in the past. Now, I did a stained sunburst on my last job, the GGBO build, which turned out very nicely. And I've also done sprayed sunbursts in the past, which have also been quite nice. This time I'm going to do a hybrid. So I'm going to start by staining this. So for information, it's going to be a 3-tone sunburst of amber, red and black. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to stain the whole body amber. I'm then going to add the burst in red and get that blended and nice and how I want it. And from there on, we're back onto nitro. So the black element of the burst will be nitro, and then the whole thing will have multiple clear coats on it. At that stage, I'm going to leave it as long as I possibly can, and then I'm going to put the whole thing together and turn it into a guitar, get it playable, and do a demo and finish on time. That's my plan. At some point further down the line, when that's cured up a little bit, I will strip everything back off it, I will flat it, and I'll see where I'm at. It might be the case that at that point I need to do some grain filling on top of that lacquer and then put additional clear coats on, so I can then leave it for the required amount of time before polishing it up to a high gloss finish. The neck will be a similar situation. I'll give it some amber clear coats on the maple elements, put a decal on, clear coat it, and then just go with it for the time being and come back to it when the lacquer's cured properly and do it all properly at that point. So it's a little bit of a compromise, and it means I'll be doing some of the work twice, but I really want to get this one finished on time. So to that end, first thing I need to do, get the neck out, get the sander onto this body and just start sanding off to a decent finish. Okay, so that's the top and the back done to 240 grit. It actually goes really quickly. This wood is very soft, which means A, it kind of picks up marks really easily, but B, you can sand them out quickly as well. So the top and the back are pretty much good to go. I've got a 150 pad on the block, and I'm just going to start sanding the sides and the round over with that, just to start getting that a bit closer. And with that done, we can then move on to a 240, and I'll probably just do that by hand just to finish off. Okay, so that's all sanded down now. I think it might be the case though that once I get the first coats of clear onto this, it's going to actually be more of a sanding sealer than anything, and I'm going to have to kind of nib it down and get rid of a few imperfections there, because this wood is kind of really soft, so it's very difficult to get it where you want it at this stage. But I think a coat of lacquer on it will harden it up a bit and give it a bit of rigidity, because it's now time to apply some stain. And the first thing I'm going to do is, I've got some Crimson Stunning stain, and this is amber, and then I've got some cherry red, which I'm going to use for the red element of the burst. Okay, so I'll get some gloves on, I'll get some tissue on the job and see what we can do. And I'm literally just going to cover the whole of the top and the back in amber. I'm not going to do the sides because they're going to be black, and you'll never ever see through that black nitro. Okay, I think that will do for a first coat. It's looking quite nice. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that now for 10 minutes or so to dry up, and then we can see if we need a second coat on it. Okay, so I've left that for a little while to dry up, and I thought I might have to kind of nib it down because it would have raised the grain, but to be honest, it hasn't, so that's good. One less thing to do. So now I am going to put some cherry red onto this and see what that looks like. It might be a little bit too red for the kind of sunburst effect that I'm going for. I don't know, we'll have to see. If it is, I'll just have to tone it down with something a little bit browner maybe. And I'm going to start on this bit because all of that is going to get covered up, so realistically that will give me a good starting place just to see if the colour's something like, and I actually think that's going to work. So on the bits that are going to be visible, I'm going to go around the edge. Try and get an even-ish line right the way around. Now this is a little bit kind of shy of where I want it to be. Because what I'm going to do now I'm just going to use a little bit of dampened tissue and blend that line in. And kind of bring it a bit closer into the middle. To where we might want it. And I think that looks something like what I want. So again, it's a case of leaving this to dry up for a little while before we move on to the next stage, which in this case is a trick I picked up on the last one of these that I did, and that is to go over the whole thing again with the amber and use that to kind of really blend those colours together. And I think with the addition of the black around the edge, that's going to look spot on. I think that is going to be a really nice job, which means we need to break out the spray gun and get the compressor fired up. However, that's beyond the scope of this episode. I'm going to leave that till next time. So as always, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you in a few days' time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.